Did you know that Jesus taught a specific technique for activating the third eye that was deliberately hidden for centuries? While millions of people seek complex and expensive methods to awaken the conscience, the most powerful answer has always been hidden in the simplest words of history's greatest master. And the most shocking thing is that this technique doesn't require complicated rituals, years of esoteric study, or retreats to faraway places. It can be applied by anyone, anywhere, starting today. The truth is, there's a silent conspiracy to keep this wisdom from the common people. Why? Because when you master this ancient practice, you become independent of external systems of control and manipulation. Your intuition awakens so intensely that no one can deceive you with lies disguised as truths. Your pineal, this little gland that science calls the third eye, begins to function as it should, connecting you directly to the source of light interior. That's why this technique has been buried, distorted, and turned into empty rituals over the centuries. But today, you're going to find out exactly what Jesus really meant when he talked about the single eye that fills the whole body with light. You will understand why he retreated to the desert, what was the secret behind their prayers silent, and how to apply this ancient wisdom to activate dormant abilities within you. And before we begin this transformative revelation, like this video, so more people have access to this knowledge, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any life-changing content. If you're tired of theories without results and want to experience in practice wake-up reel of conscience, stay until the end of this video. Because what you'll learn here isn't just information, it's the key that can completely transform how you experience life. Starting with the next 15 minutes of presence genuine. Have you ever stopped to think that there is a small gland in the center of your brain that may hold the key to experiences that go far beyond what your five senses can capture? Pineal has always been a fascinating enigma, both for scientists and those seeking the wake-up spiritual. Imagine a microscopic antenna the size of a pea, hidden right in the middle of your head, functioning as a bridge between the physical world and invisible dimensions of conscience. As your eyes capture the light of the sun and lamps, this third eye tunes into frequencies that science is still beginning to understand. It's as if you have an internal receiver, which, in the silence suitable, can pick up signals that your logical mind could never explain. Think about the last time you had an intuition so strong that it almost seemed like a certainty coming from nowhere. You know those moments when you just know something without being able to explain how you arrived at that conclusion. Many ancient masters claimed that these insights stem precisely from this small central gland. Science has discovered that it regulates our sleep cycles through the production of melatonin. But there's much more going on behind the scenes. During the hours of darkness, when the outside world quiets down, the pineal gland enters a state of alignment, special, almost as if awakening to a deeper work. It is at this moment that vivid dreams arise, that prayers deep ones gain a different dimension, and that the presence divine becomes almost palpable. The most fascinating thing is to discover that ancient civilizations, long before modern science, already intuited this truth. The Egyptians represented it through the Eye of Horus, the Hindus through the Ajna chakra, and countless traditions spoke of this internal portal of light. It is as if humanity has always known, in ancient wisdom, that we carry within us a secret door to expanded states of consciousness. It's no coincidence that great spiritual masters sought the desert, not just as a physical place, but as a symbol of the silence necessary for this internal antenna to function fully. And perhaps it is precisely for this reason that Jesus' words, more than 2,000 years ago, contained such precise clues about how to activate this hidden potential in each of us. Jesus had a unique way of teaching. He didn't throw ready-made truths in people's faces, but planted seeds through parables that only germinated when someone was in a state of presence true. One of the most enigmatic phrases he left was, "If your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light." To most, this sounds like a beautiful poetic metaphor, but when you dive deeper, you realize he was literally pointing to the activation of pineal. This single eye is not a figure of speech. It is a practical instruction on how to awaken that inner antenna that connects you to invisible dimensions of conscience. When Jesus spoke about this single eye, he was referring to an inner vision that goes far beyond what your physical eyes can see. It's that clarity that comes when you close yourself in, silence, deep, and, even without external images, begins to perceive answers, paths, and solutions that previously seemed impossible. Intuition becomes clear like a flashlight in a dark tunnel, and suddenly you feel your whole body vibrating in alignment, perfect. Have you ever been in a prayer or meditation and feel that something clicked internally, that an inexplicable peace took over your being? This is exactly what Jesus was describing, not some distant supernatural phenomenon, but a natural ability that we all carry within us. The most impressive thing is that Jesus wasn't proposing something beyond the reach of ordinary human beings. He didn't ask for complex rituals, luxurious temples, or advanced esoteric knowledge. He was simply pointing inward to that desert fertile ground of consciousness, where the simple act of closing your eyes can open doors that logic can never explain. It's as if he knew that light that we so desperately seek is not in the distant stars, but right here, in this small central gland that pulses silently within our skull. And perhaps that is precisely why, whenever he needed profound answers or to prepare for decisive moments, Jesus sought a specific place that would reveal even more about this process of wake up. When Jesus withdrew to the desert, most people thought he was simply escaping the crowds or seeking a quiet corner to rest. But the truth is much deeper. The desert he sought wasn't just geographic, it was existential. It's that empty, arid space where all external noises fall silent and the soul can finally hear its own voice. Anyone who has ever experienced intense periods of loneliness knows exactly what I'm talking about. At first, it hurts, it bothers, because we're addicted to distractions. But once you give in to it, silence, something magical happens. This apparent emptiness transforms into a super fertile field. For the wake-up and conscience, the desert, the inner self, manifests itself in many ways in our daily lives, and we often don't even realize we're being invited to enter it. It could be those moments when you step away from social media and feel a strange emptiness, or when you turn off the TV and are left alone with your own thoughts. At first, the mind screams, complains, invents 1,000 false urgencies to get you out of this state of presence. But if you resist and stay there, taking a deep breath and connecting with something bigger through prayer silent, one intuition clearer begins to emerge. It is in this arid terrain that the pineal finds the ideal conditions to awaken, creating an alignment internal that words simply cannot describe. This is precisely why all great masters retreated periodically, not to escape the world, but to hear it from within. In the inner wilderness, you learn to differentiate the noisy voice of the ego from the whispered voice of the soul. It is there that you realize that light, the most intense experience, does not come from outside, but springs silently from your own center, illuminating even the darkest parts of your personal history. The more time you spend in this sacred place, the more you feel a transformation taking place in the deep layers of your being. And Jesus, as the practical teacher that he was, did not leave this experience to theory. He taught a specific and accessible method. for anyone to access this state through a practice he called prayer secret. When Jesus said, "Go into your room, close the door, and pray in secret," he wasn't talking about a physical room in your house. He was referring to your own bedroom. Conscience, this sacred space where only you exist, and the presence divine. Closing the door means much more than locking a room. It's silencing the five senses, turning off the constant mental noise, and immersing yourself in silence so deep that you can almost hear your own heart beating. A prayer. What Jesus taught was completely different from the desperate supplication or anxious request most people practice. He spoke of vibrational prayer, not asking as if you don't have it, but feeling it as if it were already a living reality within you. It's like when you visualize a goal with such emotional clarity that your whole body responds as if it were already happening. For example, instead of begging for peace, you consciously place yourself in a state of peace during the practice, feeling that vibration emanate from every cell of your being. This kind of alignment, energetic, is the real key, because when you pray this way, the intuition expands naturally, and answers begin to emerge from the most unexpected places. In practice, you can start experiencing this today, right now if you want. Turn off your cell phone, find a quiet corner, sit comfortably, and breathe deeply until you feel like you're actually entering this inner room. When you do your prayer, don't beg. Feel that what you seek is already alive and pulsating within your heart, radiating light throughout your being. It's not magic or self-deception, it's conscience pure in action, is the pineal awakening to your highest function. Gradually, you will notice that your outlook on life changes, that synchronicities begin to happen, and that there is a wake-up happening at ever deeper layers. And it was precisely to further enhance this transformative practice that Jesus used an additional tool that few fully understand. Most people are familiar with fasting from food, but few realize that Jesus practiced something much more subtle and powerful, fasting from the senses. He understood that the constant bombardment of external stimuli keeps the pineal in a kind of hibernation mode, unable to awaken to its true potential. It's like trying to hear soft music in the middle of a noisy party, simply impossible. So, he would periodically step away from the excess information, voices, images, and even unnecessary physical touch, to get in direct contact with the silence interior. In this state of sensory fasting, the entire nervous system goes into alignment with higher frequencies, allowing the conscience expand naturally. Think about the last time you spent a few hours away from your phone. Remember that feeling. At first, a strange anxiety hit, like you were missing something important. But after a while, when your mind finally quieted, a different kind of peace began to emerge. Isn't that right? This is a perfect modern example of sensory fasting in action. When we consciously reduce excess screens, noise, idle chatter, and even the constant need to touch objects, we allow light interior finds space to shine. It's like cleaning the dusty windows of a house. Suddenly, natural light can enter freely, revealing beauties that were there all along, but that we couldn't see. Jesus lived this in a practical way in desert, but you can apply this transformative principle today, starting small. How about setting aside a few hours a week without social media, turning off the TV, avoiding superficial conversations, and dedicating that time solely to prayer, inspiring reading, and presence pure? Also try eating in silence, walking without headphones, or simply sitting in a park observing nature without taking any photos. Little by little, you will realize that intuition intensifies in an impressive way, that the mind gains a crystal clarity, and that there is something different pulsing in the region of the pineal. This kind of fasting is not deprivation, it is liberation, And the most fascinating thing is that modern science is beginning to prove exactly the same effects that the ancient masters have known for millennia. For a long time, talking about the Pineal Land, their mystical abilities was considered the talk of a half-crazy mystic, something that had no place in serious conversation. But today, something fascinating is happening in laboratories around the world. Neuroscience is beginning to shed light scientific, about exactly what the ancient masters already intuited centuries ago. Modern research shows that during deep states of meditation and prayer, silent, intense activity takes place right in the central region of the brain, where our little pineal is located. Some renowned neuroscientists have even called it the center of mystical experience. And this is no longer considered pseudoscience, but real empirical observation. It's as if science, after so many detours, is finally catching up with what Jesus and other masters have always known, through direct experience. This encounter between reason and faith is absolutely revolutionary, because it breaks once and for all the false dilemma that has been created between science and spirituality. Imagine two mighty rivers that have flowed separately for centuries, but finally meet in the same vast ocean of truth. When you practice silence and presence genuine, you're not just connecting spiritually, you're literally training your brain to operate at higher frequencies, stimulating the production of natural chemicals that create well-being and alignment. This creates a powerful triad, biological, mental, and spiritual, working in perfect harmony for the wake-up and conscience. It is living proof that there is no real separation between body, mind, and spirit. Everything is one thing, pulsating in the same light. Most inspiring of all is realizing that this convergence works just as well in sophisticated laboratories as it does in your living room. Ordinary people who begin to meditate regularly report dramatic reductions in anxiety, significant improvements in sleep, bursts of intuition, and a general feeling that they are more connected to something bigger. It's no longer about blind belief or baseless faith, but about proven, repeatable experience. Jesus knew this 2,000 years ago. He lived the science of the soul in practice, long before it received that official name. And the most compelling proof that this knowledge really works isn't just in academic studies, but in the real stories of transformation that happen every day with people who decide to apply these ancient principles to modern life. When someone really decides to apply in practice what Jesus taught about silence, prayer, and presence, something profound and undeniable happens in this person's life. I've witnessed transformations that defy any logical explanation. Ordinary people, immersed in destructive addictions and deep emotional pain, who found in the simple act of silencing their minds a renewing force that no therapy or medicine had been able to offer. It's as if pineal slowly awaken from a 1,000-year sleep, revealing horizons of light where before there was only darkness and hopelessness. These stories are not urban legends, nor motivational hype. They are living, breathing proof that wake up and conscience, it is a real possibility and accessible to any human being willing to delve into this inner journey. Let me share a concrete example that had a profound impact on me. I met someone who, after years of battling anxiety attacks that seemed uncontrollable, decided to try a simple but consistent practice. Every day, for 15 minutes, she would isolate herself in silence, total, breathe deeply, and focused only on feeling in alignment with something bigger through prayer contemplative. No complicated mantras, elaborate rituals, or fancy techniques, just presence, temple. Within a few weeks, She began reporting more vivid and revealing dreams, a striking mental clarity in making decisions, and most importantly, an intuition sharpened that I had never experienced before. What years of medication had failed to resolve, the constant practice of inner connection began to transform in a natural and lasting way. The most impressive thing is realizing that this kind of transformation is never restricted to just the individual going through the experience. It's as if each person who awakens automatically becomes a beacon of light, subtly but powerfully inspiring and influencing everyone around you: family, friends, co-workers, even strangers on the street. A conscience expanded is contagious in the best sense of the word, creating invisible waves that reach people who don't even know where that feeling of peace and renewed hope comes from. And this silent movement of wake up individual is not happening in isolation. There are clear signs that we are experiencing something much larger, a collective phenomenon that is gaining momentum across the world. If you stop to observe carefully what is happening around us, you will realize that something extraordinary and silent is moving through humanity. Never has there been so much talk about conscience, silence, presence, and genuine spirituality outside of traditional and institutional molds. It's as if millions of people are being called simultaneously to enter the same desert interior that Jesus traversed, a sacred space of introspection that sets the stage for a completely new level of wake-up collective. A pineal, once forgotten in anatomy books, now emerges as a powerful symbol of this universal calling that echoes in the hearts of people of the most diverse cultures, ages, and backgrounds. It is a phenomenon that transcends religions, nationalities, and social classes, uniting humanity in a common search for light interior. To be wake up it is not the preserve of mystics isolated in Tibetan mountains, or of people who dedicate their entire lives to professional meditation. It is happening in big cities, in the simplest homes, in the most unlikely corporate environments. People who have never been interested in prayer or contemplative practices, suddenly they begin to feel an inexplicable thirst for silence and alignment interior. It's as if a light invisible was being lit simultaneously in millions of hearts around the planet, creating an energetic network that further strengthens this transformative wave. Each person who awakens automatically becomes part of this luminous web that connects kindred souls, regardless of the physical distance that separates them. It is the conscience collective expanding in an organic and natural way. Perhaps the most beautiful and hopeful thing of all is realizing that this movement doesn't depend on charismatic leaders, powerful institutions, or centralized organizations to happen. It's something that springs spontaneously from within, intuition that whispers eternal truths, and conscience that recognizes itself as one in essence. Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within each of us." And now, this ancient truth seems to be coming to life before our eyes, collectively and on a global scale. It is as if all of humanity is finally remembering who it really is, awakening from a deep sleep, to discover that it has always carried within itself the key to transformation. And when you realize that you are part of this wake-up greater, that your individual journey contributes to this silent revolution of conscience, everything takes on a completely new purpose and meaning. Now you have in your hands the same knowledge that Jesus used more than 2,000 years ago to activate extraordinary capabilities of conscious human. But here's the question that will define the course of your life from now on. Will you let this knowledge die, like another video you watched and forgot? Or will you have the courage to apply these techniques in practice, Because one thing I can guarantee you, your pineal has been waiting for decades, perhaps lifetimes, for you to finally awaken from your deep sleep and activate your full potential light that pulses silently inside your skull. The silence that Jesus was looking for in dessert, a prayer secret that he taught, the sensory fast that activated his intuition, all of this is within your reach, right now. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You don't need ideal conditions or years of preparation. You can start today, in the next 15 minutes, by closing your eyes, taking a deep breath, and entering that inner room where your soul can finally hear its own voice. But answer me honestly. Do you really want to change your life? Or would you rather continue living on autopilot, complaining that nothing works while never really trying anything? This is the time to decide whether you're going to be just another person who knows a lot and does little, or whether you're going to join the select group of those who transform knowledge into wake-up real. And if this content really touched something deep inside you, if you felt that these words arrived at the right time in your journey, then do your part so that this light keeps spreading. Leave a like on this video so more people have access to this transformative wisdom. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue learning about the practical secrets of conscience expanded. Share it with those special people who you feel are ready to awaken, because every soul that connects with this truth strengthens the Wake Up Collective that is happening all over the world. Remember, in the end, we are like individual stars that shine alone. But when we unite in purpose, we create constellations capable of illuminating the entire sky of humanity. Your presence waking up makes a difference, more than you think.